I did the Broadway musical Chicagoan for a couple of years, or 3 months for 2 years, and the band leader and contractor is they're called Red Press, who's maybe 86 now.
Wow.
And Red Press went to grade school with Stan. And
wow,
they grew
I need
yeah.
the boyhood friends, man. I need the boyhood friends.
Red Press is your man. Red Press.
Unbelievable.
Red Press. He's a contractor. He's one of the leading Broadway contractors.
Wow.
And he told me some pretty cool stories because he told me that when they had a little saxophone, like a 7-piece saxophone thing that they did in school.
Oh.
And they would go to another school and travel and do a performance or something there. And they travel over to this other school, and the lady, the teacher says, "Okay, who's the leader?" And they didn't have figured out the leader yet. She says, "Well, you should be." And she pointed right at Getz because he was so handsome. He was such a star. And then he says, "Yeah, that." He says, and he says, "I knew Stan. He was younger, a little bit younger, and and he always was a star." He says, "I turned him on to Ben Webster, and the rest is history." So I know how great Stan Getz is and all that kind of stuff, and we had to finally find the right song, and I finally thought I did the right kind of groove, which was going to be open ended enough for him to blow. You don't want to have a guy come up and play 16 bars. It's Stan Getz, for God's sake. So we had to, and we're a pop band, so there was a little bit of a complication that way. But I finally got this piece of music that Chris wrote, and I fashioned an idea for it, and I didn't have much melody in mind at first. I was just going to kind of speak the melody, I thought, at one point, but that doesn't matter. But I sent him a demo tape of this song. Of course, the story that how we met at Zoot Sims' benefit. You probably know that story. And he, it was a Zoot Sims' benefit. Zoot Sims died, and they had a benefit. And I think I can't even remember who all played. Jim Jones played, and Getz. And I went with my dad. My dad was a huge amateur player. Played very good drummer and pretty good piano player, and just a fan. Knew every band. Knew everybody in the Jimmy Lunsford band. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
I love it. He loved swing music. He loved bebop.
He loved it. He loved Dixieland too, man.
Right.
He knew all about it. And he so I on the QT. This was like, I think it was 83 or 80. I had just sort of happened 83 or 84 right in there. I got 2 tickets for this benefit through my agent, and bingo at Kimball's or somewhere, wherever it was downtown. And so I said, "Hey, Pops, I got 2 tickets." So he says, "Great." So I take him. We get there early, and oh my gosh, they usher me to my aisle seats right in the front, 3rd row. And who's already seated there but Phil Elwood, the jazz critic.
I'm obsessed with that guy. That guy did more for the Bay Area jazz scene than anybody. Go ahead. Right. I don't want to cut you off. Right. Go ahead. Go.
No, good. So there's Elwood, and my dad. I've been reading Elwood forever, my life, but my old man knows all about Elwood, and so and Phil Elwood recognizes me and goes, "Hey, Huey Lewis, good to see you, man." Well, now my old man just can't believe that Phil Elwood's recognized his kid, And so he sits down. I put him between us so that he can. And they immediately start talking about, Jimmy Lunsford and Chick Webb and all the early shit, and going and mobile up and this and that. And my old man's encyclopedic that way. And they're having a ball doing that. My old man's in 7th, and I feel this. And I'm kind of listening to him, and I feel a tap on my back. And I turn around, and it's Getz. And he's standing there, and he's got his horn on. And he's just standing there, and he goes, "Hey, are you Huey Lewis? You're Huey Lewis, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "My girlfriend wants to eat your shorts." And so he says, "Hey, why don't you let me play some of that shit, play on some of your shit?" He says, "I play that shit too, I said, "Yeah, of course." Blah, blah, blah. And he gave me a card that said, Stan Getz and his phone number. Have sax, we'll travel. And so it took me a long time to get the right piece of music. And when I got the piece of music together, that I thought would be okay. I sent him a little demo tape, and then he was in treatment. You know, he was in cancer treatment at the time, so he had to get healthy and go through it and all stuff. So it was like 6 months later when he finally said, "Yeah, I can. I'd love to do it, and I can do it." He said, "I can do it, but I got to do this." So you know, I got his treatments and stuff. And so 6 months later, bingo, he comes up to our studio to play it, and I since I had sent him the demo tape, I had put on a whole Tower Power horn section and some percussion, I suppose, and whatnot. So it had evolved, this track. You know, it was slightly different. And and then he put on his horn, and he went out there. He professed to not know the key it was in, and like he had never played it before, you know. And I thought he must have listened to it or something. And then when he found out it was in D, I think concert D, which was his F sharp, maybe.
Sure.
Is that right? Or something?
I mean, I'm a non-musician, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, but anyway, it was a tough key for him.
Right.
And he went, "Oh my God, it's level. It's a big." And I said to him, I said, "Well, geez, I guess we could, you know, try and speed it up or slow it down and put it in a different key, a half step." I don't know if anybody's ever done that before, but we got this auto-tune stuff, and really, could we? He says. I said, "Sure, whatever. Let's try it." So we zip it down, I guess, and he goes out and plays a little bit to it in a half step lower, and it's real slow. And then he comes back in, and we speed it up, and it sounds like a kazoo. You know, it's horrible. It's terrible, and so that ain't gonna work. He just, never mind. He says to me, "Lee, I'll just play it the way it is. It's just a challenge for Super Jew." And then he goes out there, and he blew so gorgeous. And the one huge lesson. First of all, you know, nobody had note choice like Stan. I mean, his note choice is just gorgeous. And beyond that, he understands that when the rhythm is zigging, he'll zag. You know, if stuff gets real busy, he'll start playing long notes against it. And when stuff gets nice and long and open, then he'll throw some faster, shorter notes at you. But he just knows so much how to ride that wave, that musical wave. Man, I mean, he's a master. And watching him do that was unbelievable. He played 3 solos for us, and then he came, and I said, "Man, yes, come on in." I said, "Man, that first one, here's what I would do." I said, "I'd play the first half of this one, and right here I'd switch it over to the other one." And he did. And he says, "You can do that?" I said, "Sure." We just pushed the button, man. It was a piece of cake. So bingo, and he loved it. And it's still our most musical moment of our whole career is Stan's solo on Small World, his long extended solo on Small World. It's a thing of beauty.
Can you be?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's definitely, yeah. It's that music right there. That music while he's soloing is when he's soloing with the music going. I think it's the most musical we've ever been, you know, in our whole career. It's our musical highlight, I think. Stan Getz, and his solo is gorgeous on it. I don't know if you've listened to it or not, but you should.
I'm going to get the record. I'm going to buy. Like, to me, this is
yes. And you know, I did something terrible. I think it's a 7-minute track, okay, and I wanted it to be long enough to give Stan a chance to blow. That was the idea. So I needed a certain kind of a song that was wide open and all that. And this thing fit the bill perfectly. But what I did is we were a pop band. Nobody had, you know, you can't make an 8-minute record. So I think the whole thing together is 8 minutes. And so what we did is we split it in half, the song, and the first half and the second half. And his solos in the second half, which was a huge mistake because the first half sounds like it was a huge mistake. But his is Small World Part 2 is the saxophone solo. But we finally did do a single where we edited it all together and abridged, you know, truncated his solo a little bit and my stuff a little bit and put like a 5-minute record together to try to get a hit single out of the deal. And it was the last song that it broke a chain of top 10 records. You know, we'd had like 20 top 10 records in a row in Small World was the first one that didn't crack the top 10. and it's literally our best musical moment.
Right.
And
well,
I'm always reminded
yeah.
because my dad was a jazzer, and my dad used to say all the time. I remember when I called him and I said, "Hey, Pops, I had my first number one record." I said, "You won't believe this. They tell you a week ahead of time, when your record's going to go number one because it's in the charts and all that crap." So they call me and say, "Hey, guess what? You got a number one record next week." So I happened to be talking to my dad. I said, "Pops, guess what? My record goes to number one next week." He goes, "Oh shit." I said, "What?" He goes, "Oh, that's not good." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, the best stuff is never the most popular." "Girl from Ipanema" was a big hit. Everybody knew "Girl from Ipanema." And in terms of a jazz record, that Kind of Blue, and some Brubeck things is about the, and maybe a Herbie Hancock, Headhunters or something are about the most successful jazz records ever, aren't they? I think something like that. I mean, it's right there, and yeah. So I knew that there, and my dad was a jazzer, so I knew about Getz, sure. But yeah, and they have Ellington and Coleman Hawkins and Ben Webster. Man, I saw Webster play. I saw saw some great stuff.
Jesus, man, this is burnt. I mean, that stuff burned. But you were you really were a blues guy. I mean, is that fair to say?
Yeah. My take on it was, how do I fit in?
Right.
And then I started playing harmonica because when my parents got divorced, when I was young, maybe what was I, 11 or 12 or something. And when they got divorced, my mom rented a room out to a boarder called Billy Roberts, who was a folk singer who played harmonicas, and he in the harness, kind of a la Bob Dylan, and he wrote "Hey Joe," actually, this guy, Billy Roberts, and he gave me a bunch of harmonicas.